So I'd like to talk about directions. Both Takamizawa Sensei and Schmidt Sensei, who I've had the privilege to train with over the years, direction should be 360 degrees all the way around, and up and down. So Takamizawa Sensei actually come up with a numbering system. So when he was teaching you a kata, he would only have to say a number. You don't have to learn this, but this was the thought process. Odd numbers were with your left hand, even numbers with your right. So direction 1, direction 2, direction 3, direction 4, direction 5, direction 6, direction 7, direction 8. There's also direction 9 and 10, which when he said that, I'd never thought about it before in kata. But when you do Pinan Godan, you jump and land, yeah, dropping, ducking down, kushanku, where you're coming underneath. So it's quite interesting when he did come up with those numbers. So those, other people out there who had the privilege to train with Takamizawa Sensei, especially down at Temple, I'm sure that's brought some memories back. Try and think of every direction when you are doing your kata. So you're the center of the universe. It doesn't mean that they're in these directions. They can be any variation between there. But you really need to stick to the pattern and direction of the kata. Yeah. He also used another word, which was called distant. DI, direction. ST, stances. N, numbers, the ones that I've just talked to you about, and others. And others numbers. I'm sure he was the first karate computer instructor that came out. And direction, stances, numbers, and timing. Timing of your technique, timing of your stepping. Yeah. So when you come to do your grading, as I say, don't particularly use this as a grading purpose, but when you do your grading, don't rush it. Don't rush the kata. You need to show that you fully understand the kata. You can change direction from one stance to another stance, to a slightly different stance, that's if it's called, maybe a Zenkutsu-dachi to Kiba-dachi or Shiko-dachi. Yeah, you should be able to go from one to the other. I try and speed up my turns, because that's the time when you show that you've got good balance, good timing. But don't rush the kata. You need to show that you're confident and you fully understand the kata. Don't rush it. How many of you have seen people, they go, hell for leather. And what have they done? They stumbled over themselves, they're all out of balance, punches and kicks are going everywhere. So please show the people who are grading you that you know exactly what you are doing. And don't get carried away with the other people who are taking their grading. They might all off over the place. You try and keep your own timing. If you make a mistake, because you've got that timing and because you've taken your time, you'll be able to pick the kata up from where you made that mistake and then carry on. Again, made a mistake, but you knew where you were in that kata. So it might be very simple going into the yoi stance, going to yoi rather, but I see so many people, especially in Wado, stance is too wide and this is too stiff. It should be quietly confident, not making a big exhibition out of just going into yoi. So your width of your yoi stance is important. Sensei, can I borrow you? And the way to check it is face them. If you go yoi, but go wide, that's fine. So if you get next to somebody as the stance is too wide, just put your hand against their chest. Okay, now if you take it, it should be a fist and a foot and maybe one and a half fists. It's narrower than you think. Some of you think you've got massive shoulders. or massive hips, but then try exactly the same thing where you put pressure on it. And there is a remarkable difference. So narrow or correct, yeah, as opposed to, this looks very impressive, but you're too stiff, stance is too wide. So just be quietly confident when you go into your ready stance. Thank you. Okay, when I start doing practicing kata, I never try and deviate from the kata itself. Again, when I see people do Keisetsu or Bunkai, they see a move and they sort of make up almost another kata until it doesn't resemble the kata itself. But when I start doing a kata, I try and think about the orthodox way of thinking about the kata. So, Sensei, can you come back? There are very subtle differences. So, the traditional thought is fighting stance is they're coming exactly 90 degrees. Well, why would they come in 90 degrees when I've got my arm in the way? There's no, your body's not, I'm not standing there. Next thing is, okay, it can be coming forward and punching Jodan, because that's the only place that's available. And the next thing is my hand goes up. Okay, yes, but when you come to step and punch, you're actually on a different center line. The kata is not this. Same again, Sensei. Up, down, and I step across to punch Jodan. Live way. So this is where I'd need to be to actually punch, to do a Zuki. But the kata is using your Zenkutsu-dachi, your Junzuki stance. So it means you're further over. So the only way that that can work is if the attacker moves around slightly. A little bit too much. But it should work up to X amount of degrees. When you're thinking about kata, you should think about lots of directions, and I'll come back to that in a sec. So here they can see this direction. Okay, so one. Now when I go to punch, I'm on exactly the correct center line. So just by the uke moving around slightly, yeah, it makes sense of the direction. And the direction of the punch, the stance. So that fits into the kata by just moving the uke around slightly. This technique shouldn't be hitting. It should be with your body weight dropping. So I'm putting no effort in hitting. Sorry about this. No. So should be just relaxed and let your arm drop. And your arm drop with your body weight. Punch. So try and think of this dropping. Okay. Next orthodox is, can you come here? Way of thinking is for a maigeri coming behind and you turning and trying to block. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't turn if somebody was kicking behind me. You know, I would be moving away from the kick. So, in my thinking, they've already started at this angle. So 1, 2. When they do the maigeri, I'm not only moving away, but I've just done my gidan-bare. So instead of thinking somebody's behind you, turning and blocking here, really it should be a continuation from this uke. Yeah, very slight angle. 1, 2, 3. In fact, I don't even have to make contact. It's just a covering and my taisabaki as I'm turning. So the next 1, 2, 3. So the kick has gone through, he carries on through. 1, 2, 3. Comes Jodan, Chudan, and then punch. So this is an example of my thoughts about this Pinan. If you want to use the orthodox way of thinking about it, that's fine. It does not alter the pattern and the way that you do your techniques in Pinan Nidan. But to me, it makes more sense, and if it makes more sense to me, then I have passion about the kata, not just doing a dance routine. So the next way of looking at Pinan Nidan is from possibly a jiu-jitsu way. So if you're here, so again, so I drop, not lift, I start to drop. This one's out. This one, takes out. Now Sensei Kerry tries to go through, step forward and round, and grabs again. I'll just let this hand relax out the way so as you can see more of what's happening here. A lot of people, when they just drop your hands, Sensei. A lot of people do this when they do Gidan-bare. So here, let your body come back, let your elbow come in, let your wrist turn. Back, back, back. Turn, turn, turn. Down. When they're down, then you come up. Then you draw down the center line to punch. So, we'll try and put all that together. Not here. Going back. Here. So if you put your jiu-jitsu moves into your Pinan moves, it tells you how much body movement you need or how much elbow you need to move. Wrist action. So if you do it from the beginning, from here. 1, 2, carry on, round, grab, down, up, down, and punch. Do it from here. Not lift, drop, grab, back, down, up. So, might be a mixture of thoughts, but the more reasoning you put behind those, it's your kata. It's your movements. It's not somebody else's. But obviously you have to be well versed with the kata before you start experimenting. And don't forget, if your instructor doesn't like those ideas, then not a problem. You stick to what he or she, her thoughts. Thank you.